This is Paul. Yeah. I'm just sitting here. I had been to the senior center earlier today. Yes. And I really didn't get any emails. I'm kind of concerned that the importance of the enforcement of the law is not realized. I was on the Armenian website, and they have a constitution in their country. Yeah. Where the citizens are guaranteed the equal protection of the laws. And I was kind of looking at some of those that are Armenian. Yes. And I thought, it is actually against the law in many nations to not have the equal protections of the law. Now, I know the Armenians, and not that they would be angry that the United States doesn't enforce the Constitution, but when you consider that other nations have an obligation to enforce the rights of Americans in those nations, that the protection order and child support services are covered under the Hague Convention. I had done some research about the Hague Convention as it pertains to service of process. When you issued a protection order without any jurisdiction and without any authority from the United States Constitution, in every nation that belongs to the Hague Convention of International Service of Process, not having jurisdiction or authority means that every one of those nations would have to enforce an illegal protection order. Now, I know it seems mean that I would sue the Armenians for not informing the United States about the criminality of issuing protection orders that are enforceable for every country that's in the Hague Convention. But the Armenians seem to have a constitution that they themselves would have to enforce, and let's say you got a protection order issued in Armenia. You ended up moving to America, and then there's the International Convention of Service of Process and the obligation to pay child support. Now, the very knowledge that the United States is implicating other nations in their own criminality means that I could, in many ways, sue Armenia for having any knowledge that the International Hague Convention of Service of Process and Child Support Service is not being enforced. Now, just looking at some of these Armenians, if I was in Armenia, I kind of thought that they might have, some of them might have got a little vampired too. Now, I've often mentioned my love for Romania. Did you know that Armenia is right between Turkey and Georgia? And it seemed like they're having some sort of little get-together with the stands over there, the Pakistan, Afghanistan, Czechostan, and Azerbaijan. Or that's not a stand, is it? Azerbaijan? No, it's Azan. They got these international agreements. It looked like the Armenians were picking a fight with some country that was going to be a part of their international grouping of nations that have these treaty agreements about what they will and will not do. Now, since I had informed the Armenian chief of staff of the government of Armenia, and I had emailed a copy of the necessary documentation to prove that the United States is not enforcing the International Hague Convention, the Armenians are liable for all of my losses. Now, if you could get me all the land in Armenia, I'd like to know what the government owns and what the citizens own. Yes, because I'm kind of thinking I might have to take off the property of Armenia that the government thought that they had ownership. When you mess with a multi-trillionaire, I don't know if the government of Armenia wanted to keep the property of their nation, but I could sue them for every asset of Armenia, okay? because the Armenian Constitution guarantees the equal protections of the laws without any discrimination. And I'm thinking Armenia is a member of the International Hague of International Process. And when I email a foreign government about this government not enforcing the Constitution and the obligations to not have any court-issued documents available for process in any other nation of the world that happens to have forgeries on it, I'm kind of thinking that Armenia might be losing all their property. Now, as much as Armenia didn't plan on me being the largest landowner in Armenia, once I get done suing their government for all the property of their government, the Armenian citizens will know me as the man that owns. But, well, I gotta talk to you for a second.